Hello again. Thought I'd take a minute to let you guys know about some resources that you have available to you for rebuilding transmissions. Some of them are good for specifications, some of them are good for diagnosis, and some of them are good for rebuilding transmissions. So first off, you have your service information, and let me take a minute to explain some of the things you can find in service information. So when you're going into service information, you can obviously put your year, make, model in and hit next, and you'll find that under that vehicle, and all the way down at the bottom here is transmission. In that particular section, they have different transmissions. Here's the 6-speed and the 8-speed here, but you'll see that there is an on-vehicle and off-vehicle instructions. So there's on-vehicle repair instructions and off-vehicle repair instructions. So the on-vehicle repair instructions is going to have things like your pressure tests and obviously things that you can do on the car as far as valve body and so forth. The repair instructions off-vehicle covers the rebuilding of the transmission. Now, what we have found, the transmission guys have found in recent years, is that it doesn't do a very good job of step-by-step instruction. There's a lot of hyperlinks, and you almost have to have the computer next to you as you go through it. It's not like a printed explanation of how to tear the transmission apart. So for your first time, if you're going through a disassembly of this transmission, it's pretty tough to use this off-vehicle section here because it is in order. It kind of goes through the order of how it comes apart, but they're all hyperlinks. So you have to kind of step-by-step change your screen to figure out how to get this transmission apart. But what's nice about, again, service information through the dealership or through General Motors is that it's updated to the latest, greatest information. So any specifications that have been changed, new check ball locations, things like that get updated online, and you don't have to worry about that as you're working on it. Now, let me go back to the home screen here. And as you can see, I put the year, make, model in, but before I hit next, if you look further down here, there's something called a transmission technical guide. So if I click on this transmission technical guide, you'll see on the left here we've got some older unit repair manuals from 97 up to 2006. Also on the right here, these are what we call the blue books. The blue books are excellent when it comes to diagnosis. So I'm going to show you some more on the blue books themselves, but I just want to let you know that through service information you have access to that. And in fact, you can look down here. Here's the 8-speed rear-wheel drive that was in that Cadillac. I can click on it. I've already got it open here. I can click on it, and I can see there's the Hydra-Matic 8-speed rear-wheel drive technician guide. And so I can scroll down that and see that here's all the information for the 8-speed. So let me go a little bit further into the books. Let me show you some books and what you can use this technician guide to do when you're diagnosing this transmission. Technician guides can help you when it comes to diagnosis of specific problems. And then also I have one that's not a GM but an aftermarket company called ATSG that provides information on rebuilding transmissions, also with some diagnosis, but they do a really good job of some of the teardown and explanation of measurements and so forth. So I'll show you that as well. Alright, so these are the Hydra-Matic blue books. We call them the Bible of the transmission repair. What's nice about the blue books is not so much for rebuilding, because each one is a separate gear that they explain in this thing, and they really don't tell you how to tear the thing apart. So tear apart and rebuilding is not not explained in this book. But what it does have, and what it explains really well, is each gear, how it's operating mechanically, hydraulically. You can see there's some big cutaways that are color-coded. One of the things that's nice about the color coding is that anything that is the same color, like if it's green, it is splined to something that is green. So whatever's green will turn at the same speed. Different colors mean that there's maybe a clutch between the two, and it'll turn at a different speed at a different time, depending on which gear you're in. So one of the big things about transmissions is you want to look at what's called a range reference chart. So say you're working with diagnosis, and you have maybe a slip in second gear. So what you can do is you can look at drive second gear, and you can go across this chart, see everything that's turned on and all the clutches that are applied in that gear. So let's say, for instance, second gear and sixth gear have problems. You're slipping in second and sixth, and you can see on this chart that the only thing where second and sixth are together is with the 2/6 clutch. So you may have a problem with that clutch. So it's something to look at on your test drive, and then when you tear the thing apart, you can kind of look for that specific component or the hydraulic circuits to that component. This, again, if I wanted to look specifically what was happening in second gear, I can go to second gear specifically in this book, and it will tell me exactly what is happening hydraulically. It also gives me the section of the range reference chart, so I can look at that again. It also explains physically what's happening inside that transmission, so all the stuff that's happening inside here. And then in the newer Blue books, they actually give these little salmon color, pink color sections here that tell you, hey, if there's something wrong, this is what happens. So again, these are great for diagnostics, also for noise diagnostic as well, because later on they give you not only a hydraulic cutaway, but they also will, on the opposing sheet, give you what's happening hydraulically in that component. So here's a cutaway of all the different spacer plates and valve bodies, and where the colors are tells you what fluid is going to what passageway. So very good book when it comes to diagnosis. Again, not so much when it comes to tear down and rebuilding. So, but those are a great book to have, and like I said, you have access through service information, or you could order these. Now what's nice about having the paper copy is you can see those foldouts I had. They're kind of hard to look at on the computer, so this is kind of nice to have in a paper copy as well, so you can order those through your dealership. So the last one I want to show you is the ATSG books. Now ATSG is a company out of Florida that basically does their own service manuals or manuals for tear down and rebuilding of transmissions. Now it could be GM transmissions, could be Ford transmissions, Chryslers. They have a lot of different versions here. What's nice about these books is it's completely the tear down, inspection, and measurement. And a lot of times they'll tell you, hey, this is the special tool for this, but you can get away with just a straight edge and a feeler gauge to do this measurement. So it's kind of nice for individual rebuilding stuff. So the first probably about 30 pages are diagnosis. So again, good stuff on diagnosis, if it does something, what things to look for. But then after that, it goes through hydraulically what's happening, and then it takes it apart step by step. And the pictures in this thing are really good. They have their own in-house artists that they draw that stuff with, so you can see all the components. You can actually see which way the component goes based on the picture, but also step-by-step tear down and assembly instructions. As it gets to the probably center pages here, they talk a little bit more about some diagnosis stuff when it comes to the valve body and wiring, and finally when it comes to reassembly. So there's specifications in the back as things go back together, and there's specifications that tell you torque specs and individual components. So there's some planetary gear information. You can see they have nice big pictures and kind of explain a lot of the stuff in layman's terms. I found these really nice for first-time teardowns. So if it's the first time you've tore down one of these transmissions, or you want to tear down one of these transmissions, I would say get an ATSG book and walk your way through it. These books were anywhere from $15 to $30, and you can use those to tear down the transmission. They do have some diagnosis in it, but again, they're really good for first-time teardowns as you're going through transmission, and they really do a good job of explaining it. So ATSG is the company. Like I said, it's a company out of Florida. If you go on their website, atsg.com, and you'll find information on these tech manuals, tech tran manuals, so specifically for GM. You can also, off their website, get some of these Blue books, the Hydromatic books too. So take a look at their bookstore and see what they have for you. So good stuff. Hey gang, headed back upstairs to edit some of this video. Just want to remind you, when you get a chance, make sure and log in and do some of your quizzes that go along with the weeks. Now, I'm probably going to extend some of those deadlines, but I want to make sure that you guys are doing those quizzes. So you got plenty of time now. Sit down on the weekend or something like that and do some of those quizzes. See ya.